This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather. Ho there. It's Jeff Cutastrophe, and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 18th, is a Chicago Cubs second base icon. He also actually played a few games for the Philadelphia Phillies as a rookie, but he's known for his time with the Chicago Cubs. Known for his All-Star and Gold Glove standards, 10 straight All-Star games, and winning 9 Gold Gloves at second base from 83 to 91. When he retired in 1997, he had the top fielding percentage by a second baseman. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. He even was a manager for Philly, but he got canned. Anyway, his name is Ryne Sandberg, who's now 63 years old. He was raised in Washington State. He wanted to play quarterback in college football and almost went to Washington State. But after the Philadelphia Phillies selected him in the 20th round of the baseball draft, he said, screw it, I'm going to be a baseball player. Philadelphia had 2 scouts who convinced Dallas Green, who was the director of scouting for the Phillies, to take Sandberg, despite the fact he was doing college football commitment. Anyway, Sandberg began his professional career drafted by the Phillies. He played in the Pioneer League in Montana, where he would have 2 key teammates, George Bell, who then went to the Jays via the Rule 5 deal, and Bob Dernier, who had joined him with the Cubs. He would move up the level to Reading in AA and then to Oklahoma City in AAA. Got called up by the Phillies. He played 13 games, only 1 hit in 6 at-bats. His hit, ironically, was at Wrigley Field. So anyway, the Phillies didn't have a role in the starting lineup, and they didn't think that Larry Bowa was going to be replaced at shortstop. And Sandberg said he could play second and third base. Unfortunately, Manny Trillo and Mike Schmidt, respectively, were blocking him. So, anyway, the Cubs and Phillies went on a major trade block. The Cubs wanted to get Larry Bowa from the Phillies for Ivan De Jesus, so it was a trade shortstop for shortstop. Bowa couldn't get a good contract with the Phillies, so he wanted to be traded. And Cubs GM Dallas Green wanted a young prospect to go along with aging Bowa. Didn't want the Bowa for De Jesus. And then he knew that Sandberg was drafted by him. So that's what it was. Anyway, this was a huge trade in Philadelphia. Like Dallas Green knew the Phillies farm system, so he insisted on Ryne Sandberg. The Phillies couldn't give Dallas Green a better prospect. And when Philly GM Paul Owens went to his staff, who said that Sandberg probably won't be better than a utility infielder, Sandberg was traded to the Cubs. Unfortunately, though, this would be one of the most lopsided trades in history. I mean, I don't hate on the Phillies for getting rid of Rhino because, they didn't know how good he was going to be. De Jesus did help the Phillies get to the 1983 World Series, but they lost to Baltimore. Anyway, the Phillies got robbed again because, remember, the first time the Phillies sent someone to the Cubs and it ended up biting him in the ass was Fergie Jenkins from Philly to the Cubs. So Philly got robbed again, but you didn't know. So the Cubs installed him as their third baseman and all that. And he was a good rookie. The only problem was the Cubs decided to get Ron Cey following the 82 season. So Sandberg went to his natural position, second base. He looked pretty good. 83, he won the Gold Glove in his first year as a second baseman. And in 84, he was breaking out. 314 with 200 hits, 36 doubles, 19 homers, 84 RBIs. Bob Dernier was the leadoff hitter and center fielder for the Cubs in 84, and Sandberg batted second. Harry Carey would call them the Daily Double, Dernier and Sandberg. So now you know the origins. Sandberg led the NL in runs and triples and was one triple and one homer short of becoming only the third player ever to have 20 doubles, triples, home runs, and stolen bases in the same season. Sandberg did help the Cubs win the NL East, the first time the Cubs were in the playoffs since 1945. Well, of course, in 1945 you had to win the American League and National League to make the World Series. There's no LCS. Thankfully, though, the Cubs were happy when Rhino won the MVP, the first Cub since Ernie Banks in 1959 to get the MVP. But there would be one game that would have Ryne Sandberg in the annals of national broadcasting. It was a Saturday afternoon, June 1984, Cubs and Cardinals on NBC. It was actually the minor game, as in the top pairing of Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola was doing another game. So it was up to Bob Costas and Tony Kubek to do the game between the Cardinals and Cubs. The Cubs were looking good and all that. The game of the week. So anyway, Sandberg looked pretty good. It wasn't just Sandberg's performance in that Cubs St. Louis game. It was also Willie McGee. Willie McGee hit for the single, double, homer, and triple. The Cubs were out of it. It was 9-8. Bruce Sutter was on the hill, and he was a good closer. Sandberg, not really known for his power, actually smacked the home run to left field to tie it up at 9. The Cardinals would not go away. They gave up. They scored twice in the 10th to win to lead 11-9. Sandberg came up facing Sutter with a man on base. Now, normally, I think the Cardinals would have found another pitcher to pitch against Sandberg. I mean, Bruce Sutter did give up the lead in a blown save. I would have yanked him. And Sandberg came up again and hit a 2-run home run. And Bob Costas says way back, "Hey, do you believe it? This is amazing," and all that. The Cubs would win in the 11th thanks to a Dave Owen, not Spike Owen, RBI. Anyway, ABC's player of the game was McGee for hitting for the cycle, but then Sandberg shared it. But anyway, Bob Costas couldn't believe it. This Cardinals-Cubs game is known as the Sandberg game in 1984 and brought the Cubs into national prominence. Sandberg in 1985 would hit 26 home runs and 83 RBIs. And then in 1990, he did what only 2 other second basemen ever did in Major League Baseball at the time. Hit 40 home runs. He had 40 home runs even, and weird enough, he led the National League in home runs, which is a rarity for a second baseman. Rogers Hornsby back in 1922 and Davey Johnson in 1973 were the only guys to hit 40 home runs as a second baseman. No American League second baseman did it until Brian Dozier in 2016. Anyway, Sandberg would bat 100 runs in, even though he was second in the order. And he batted .306. But a 40 homer, 50 steal season, which was pretty good. Well, he had a 50 steal season in 85 and then a 40 homer season in 1990. Only Sandberg, Brady Anderson, and Barry Bonds can do that. Sandberg would have his major league record of 123 straight games at second base without an error. Unfortunately, it was broken by Placido Polanco of the Tigers. Sandberg got to play in the 1990 All-Star Game, which was in Chicago at Wrigley Field. He even won the home run derby. And it was kind of a jinx because the next player to win the home run derby in his home stadium was Todd Frazier, 2015. Sandberg would bat 100 RBIs, or have 100 RBIs the second consecutive season in 1991. Making him the record holder for Gold Gloves at second base until Roberto Alomar broke that mark. Anyway, Sandberg would sign a 4-year, $28 million extension before the 92 season. and he got 100 RBIs. However, in 94, despite him being a slow early season starter and picking up ground near the end of the season, he was really struggling. He only got 53 hits in 57 games. And Sandberg decided to walk away from baseball. He said the reason he retired was simple. He lost a desire that got me ready to play on an everyday basis. Couldn't perform it. And for some strange reason, he came back to the Cubs for 96 and 97. After he finished in 97, he had the record for home runs by second baseman with 277 in a career, broken by Jeff Kent in 2004. Sandberg's final game at Wrigley Field was where he got his final career hit September 1997. And unfortunately, this would be the last time Harry Carey would broadcast a game at Wrigley Field because he died in the winter. Sandberg had kept a low profile after retiring, but he agreed to be a spokesman for National City Bank in 2005 and was an analyst for ESPN Radio. He did a lot of things. Anyway, his number 23 was retired in 2005, making him the fourth Cub to have his number retired, after Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, and Ron Santo. So Sandberg would become manager of the Class A Cubs team. Sandberg wanted to be the manager of the Cubs. And it looked like he would after 2010, but Mike Quaid was made the manager. But Sandberg left the Cubs organization and returned to be manager of the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the AAA squad of the Phillies, and helped them get to the International League Finals. He was promoted in 2012 to third base coach of the Phillies. And then when Charlie Manuel was fired in 2013, he came in there. He was given a 3-year contract in 2013, becoming the first Hall of Famer to manage a team full-time since Frank Robinson when he did Montreal/Washington from 2002 to 2006. Sandberg would resign June 26, 2015, with his team at 22 games below 500. Then he became a Cubs Goodwill Ambassador. His managerial record, 119 wins, 159 losses. So, yeah. So, anyway, Sandberg married his high school sweetheart and had 2 children. And they divorced. Then he married someone else, having 3 children from her former marriage. So he has 8 grandchildren. Now, I know there was a Tampa Bay player by the name of Jared Sandberg, but that was not Ryan Sandberg's son. It was Ryan Sandberg's nephew who played in all that. He founded Rhino Kid Care to assist in the lives of children with serious illnesses. Anyway, to help children out. So, good for him. Yep, Ryan Sandberg will always be a great Cub in everyone's eyes. Believe it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond, I do.